And welcome back to coverage of the Players' Championship here from Seattle, Washington. Here in the booth, myself, Marshall Sutcliffe. I am joined also by Zach Hill. Hey, Zach.
Hey, how you doing, Marshall?
Great, and I'm pretty excited. We've got a match here with Luis Scott-Vargas on the left side versus Shuhei Nakamura. And boom, really the ideal turn one play for Luis's mono red deck, Goblin Guide.
All right, 1 minute 2/2 haste, and a nice little telepathy effect of getting to know your opponent has a Mole Drifter.
Yes, and he's going to attack again. Now, did he crack that first?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why you want to get a land out of your deck before triggering the Goblin
Also,
Guide
you
trigger.
get a chance to let the trigger to reveal, and then you can decide if you'd like
if
to
you want to
shuffle
draw
it
the card.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain about that at all.
I don't know what happened, but he did find the land
He did find
off
it for
of
us. So
he also took 2 damage. And let's see what Luis's follow-up play is here. We can see Luis is looking quite dapper today. Is that a Genju of the Spires?
That is a Genju of the Spires without a second land drop. That can't be what you want to do if you're Luis. On the other hand, Shuhei all the way down to 16 life already.
16 life, and he's just suspended a Riftwing Cloudskate, so that's not going to be doing anything for a little while.
He is just giving Shuhei a ton of cards right now. Still has not found his second land. Obviously, he's got to want to play the Ankh Mishra in concert with the Goblin Guy, but this could be a very short game of Magic.
It could be. Shuhei at 15 currently. This play is going to be critical. It's a morph.
I'm pretty sure that Shuhei has taken 7 damage, unless there's something I don't understand.
2/4/6 plus the
plus the
fetch.
land.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he is at 13. In fact, we've got it updated now. So Luis does find his second land, and now he's got a lot of decisions to make because he's got to sequence out every turn for the rest of the game and try to get himself in a position to actually win here.
Right, and he's got a lot of lines. I mean, he can play Ankh Mishra to pile on the damage. You want to get Shrine of Burning Rage active as soon as you can because that might have to do all of the work by itself, and that looks like what he's going to do.
He does that. He also does not offer the trade with the Goblin Guide for the morph.
Right, you don't want to give your opponent the opportunity to draw a card only to block your creature and kill it.
Yeah. I see a Frost Titan in hand for Shuhei.
And Jace the Mind Sculptor, one of the best cards in Magic, not that great against a Goblin Guide.
No, not generally, but I think Shuhei is going to take the aggressive route here and say, you know what, I'm going to start Fate Sealing and keep you off your land. He laughs as he looks at the top card, and he's still laughing. He leaves it there for him. I didn't get a look at what it actually was.
Yeah, I couldn't see it either.
But he liked it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what the card is. I mean, Luis is playing right now very, very simple. Just wants to ride the Shrine of Burning Rage all the way to the rest of Shuhei's 13 life points. Shuhei laughing because he let LSV draw Price of Progress, which deals Shuhei 4 right now.
that's what he let him have.
I don't know why I'd keep that on top.
Because he's just prioritizing lands, right? He's just saying no lands for you.
Yeah, I guess so. But, I mean, 4 damage is a lot of damage with Shrine on the table, and you at 13 life.
I agree with that. Interesting update from one of the side tables. A little old school Magic being played. Yuya Watanabe has Necropotence down, and his opponent is Junya Ianaga this round, and he's got a smokestack. So
that's the thing about Cube, you know? I mean, it really is interactions that you would just never see in any other kind of Magic.
Yeah. All right, so Luis has attacked this time with Goblin Guide, and Shuhei got a tropical island off of it. And which morph is that?
That would be Vezivin Shapeshifter, which wasn't going to copy anything else. Luis sort of hanging back. He knows that the Riftwing Cloudskate's entering the battlefield, obviously without Shrine on the table. That's how he plans on doing the bulk of his damage.
Yep.
Luis did pass without casting Ankh Mishra, saying that he really does want to announce Price of Progress this turn, I think.
Right.
And possibly just didn't want to deploy something to the board only to get it bounced by Riftwing Cloudskate when his limiting factor is mana and his opponent has Jace to Jace away all of his lands.
Okay. So Shuhei pluses Jace and puts a card on the bottom. Fate Sealed away, probably a land.
Yeah, and Shuhei just going to keep attacking with Riftwing Cloudscape, keep mana open for Mystic Snake, not play any more non-basics to get hit with Luis's Price of Progress.
Right.
I feel like you probably Mystic Snake this. Like, I think you want a 2-2 on
Nice.
board. Oh, well, I guess not.
Nope.
I mean, maybe the reasoning is that if Luis doesn't cast anything, he's going to lose, so why counter the thing that deals you 4 damage? I'm probably playing a little bit too conservatively. So Luis does get his 3rd land after getting a land Fate sealed away. You have to think Shuhei is going to Mystic Snake whatever it is he casts. Most likely the Shrine, but maybe even potentially the Hell's Thunder. Luis doing nothing. He's passing the turn right here. I guess Stagger Shock is what his plan is right now. The other thing he has to do is respect the threat of that Jace, which is ticking up.
I mean, it's ticking up, but I don't think it affects him as much as normal. How many instants? That's really the key here. Shuhei is at 9, and I don't see a way for him to gain life.
Sure. I mean, if the Stagger Shock resolved, that plus Price of Progress would put Shuhei down to 1. So, I mean, I think he just wants to find an opening and try and bait Shuhei into casting spells.
The Price is in his yard, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, but he does have Char, right? Yeah, he's got
see
Char on the left side of his hand, I believe.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry, but it's some other way to deal 4 damage.
Yeah.
Shuhei tapping out for Frost Titan.
And he's going to tap down the land with the Genji of the Spires on it. Although, that does mean that Stagger Shock is going to resolve. It is going to Shuhei, and then on the rebound also to Shuhei. Luis doesn't have the luxury of messing around with trying to battle Jace.
I'm not that excited about casting Frost Titan there. I mean, Luis is at 16, but I mean, you've got to expect, you know, you're not, 9 is not very high of a life total, especially when you do have to worry about that Genji. And Luis's deck, he missed so many land drops, you know his hand is full of gasoline.
Yes.
You know that he has live cards.
You're
in
a like if Luis goes bolt you here, you know, push you to 2, like there's a lot of things that kill you at that point.
Sure. I mean, and now he gets to untap with Mystic Snake, and maybe tapping down the land. He knew that Luis couldn't cast both a Bolt and either you know, a Char, but it's still you're still living dangerously.
Yes.
By pursuing that line of play. On the other hand, Luis is dead on the next attack. Jace is live, and Luis has to scoop up his cards.
Luis says, "I've had enough." All right, so Luis looked like, I mean, and this is typical of hands that don't have any lands in them.
Right,
he had enough gas in hand.
Weirdly.
Yeah, to win, but he couldn't, you know, through some light mana disruption from Frost Titan and such, it kept him comfortably away from being able to actually get to the point.
You see Luis there. It's you know, the types of things that really matter at high level play. He sides in an Exalted Angel and then immediately sides it out.
Yeah.
Just to look like he's, you know, oh, okay, I'm changing up my deck a little bit.
He's like, I did something, I promise.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, Luis got all in on the Goblin Guide and just didn't do anything much after that.
Dak Faden is the greatest thief in the multiverse. Follow his adventures in the Magic the Gathering comic produced by IDW. A special promo card unique to the IDW comic series comes in each issue. Find out more about these comics at wizards.com/magic merchandise. Yes, the Exalted Angel, and then take it back out. Luis knows that he has a single plan. Now, of note here, both players lost their first round.
That's true.
So this is kind of, you know, the player that loses this match is off to the old 0-2 start. Yeah. It is not ideal. Now, it's not that you can't come back, but certainly not how, you know, these players envisioned the beginning of their Players' Championship going, and, you know, puts a little extra pressure that you just don't want to be the guy that's 0-2.
Now, looking at Shuhei, is he sideboarding out Skull Clamp? I could almost swear that he put Skull Clamp in his sideboard, bring in Counterspell and Drog Skull Reaver. You know, he's got to expect that if Reaver resolves, he's basically going to take the game away with that by itself. That is a bold choice on Shuhei's part.
Did I see him take out a Drog Skull Reaver?
I think he's bringing in a Drog Skull Reaver.
So that's an interesting choice, Zach. Do you bring a card like that in? Because if you do resolve it, it's just so hard for Luis to ever recover from any hit from it. That said, it costs 7 mana. Do you plan on being alive by the time that happens?
It's really tricky. The thing about a deck with this many burn cards is that, you know, you like to think about the fact that they're fast, which they are, but it's not like a white weenie deck where they play really powerful creatures early, but if you can get rid of the creatures, you basically stabilize. A lot of the time you're going to deal with the red deck's creatures relatively early, but they're going to start sending burn straight at your face. So they give you more time, but it's time that you can't use to produce interactions that are useful for you.
Right.
You know, so bringing in a card like Drog-Skull Reaver at least says, okay, by turn 7, there's something I'm going to be able to do that will allow me to get out of burn range. So I like the idea of signing that card in. Shuhei's done an incredible amount of sideboarding right now. It's kind of hard for me to keep track of what he's brought in and out.
Right. A little update from the Yuya Watanabe versus Junya Ianaga match. The old school magic continues, tells us from Sheldon Menery. A sinkhole has just hit a Keljoran outpost. So they're keeping it very old school. And Ianaga has won the first game of that match as well.
Yeah, just because cards were printed more than a decade ago doesn't mean they aren't still relevant, and it doesn't mean they're not still powerful.
No. Sinkhole, still good, it turns out.
Weirdly. How many lands do you have? Oh, none? All right.
Yeah. All right, so players are going to go to mulligans here, and we're going to see if Luis can find a few more lands. I already saw, yeah, this looks like a very good hand. I see a Goblin Guide, a Rishadan Port, also has a Chain Lightning.
This has got to be just exactly the hand
and a
you want.
Teetering Peaks.
Shuhei did hit an island on the Goblin Guide attack, but I mean, just
although
Goblin
being on
Guide
the draw
Rishadan
just
Port's
means that he's
insane.
likely discarding, right?
That is true if he doesn't have an early play. Yeah, that's a really good point. Obviously, looting is much worse than strictly being up a card.
Right.
Shuhei could play a Hallowed Fountain instead. Oh, okay. Land
well,
Ponder.
that still doesn't get him out of not discard range.
No, yeah, that's for sure. Does give him some important card selection, though. I don't really know what he's digging for, but, you know, an elf, something you can cast on turn 1, very good right now.
Another
Shuhei.
quick update. Part of the World Magic Cup champion team, Tzu-Ching is up a game versus Samuele Estratti, the Pro Tour Philadelphia.
Quo just on a tear.
Yep. Is that Mystic Snake
Mystic
is revealed, so Luis will know that that's coming, and we are for sure going to see Rishadan Port tap down the island. And he's going to just, use this Goblin Guide for as long as he possibly can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about old school Magic. People that were not playing back then do not remember Rishadan Port, and I understand.
I was one of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, the card looks bad. Oh, I'm going to tap 2 of my lands to tap 1 of your lands.
Yeah.
No, it's actually one of the most powerful lands that has ever been printed, because once you're ahead, all that matters is staying ahead.
Yeah.
And tapping your opponent's land, it's like with that island, he didn't produce an answer to Goblin Guide.
Right.
So if you tap it next turn, it's very likely that he's still not going to produce an answer to Goblin Guide.
Right.
And you're just ticking your opponent's life total down 1 point at a time, or 2 points at a time. And it really can approximate Time Walk a surprisingly high amount of the time.
Interesting. And you can do it every turn, so.
I mean, let's not forget, Rishadan Port was banned in its block constructed format.
Is that right?
Banned. It was that good.
Oh, interesting. So did you see what Luis did there? So he went Shrine of Burning range and then Chain Lightning on the elves. He would love to aim that Chain Lightning at the face,
right?
But he also realizes that keeping him off of his mana is just absolutely critical. And since he wasn't going to be porting him this turn, he leaves a window where Shuhei does get 3 lands to do something.
Now, is Shuhei really at 11 life?
Yes, because he had to use his shock land
untapped.
untapped.
To get a Temple Garden untapped.
Yes.
That is not what you want to be doing.
No, but he wanted to get the elf down.
Oh, yeah, the elf is super important. And, I mean, it gained him his 3 life back by drawing the Chain Lightning out of Luis's hand.
All right, Slith Firewalker and Teetering Peaks, and he's going to bash in for, what, 5 here?
Yeah, bashing in for 5. Shuhei revealing Arbor Elf. This is not really the time that you want to be casting Arbor Elf.
Yeah, I think Shuhei's at 6. Yep, and Luis can just pass the turn back. He doesn't currently have the ability to port because he did want to use up his mana there, but he did. Is that Grand Augustine?
Grand Arbiter Augustine the 4th.
Yeah, Grand Arbiter, right.
And so he has 2 creatures in play, but Luis has a 2/2 and 2/3, and this is going to be Price of Progress.
Price of Progress.
And activating the shrine, and that's going to be lethal.
One more time.
And that's lethal, right? So it's 2.
I'm on 16.
That's 5.
16. Go.
Oh, but he had to pay 1 more for it because of
because
Grand
of the
Arbiter.
Arbiter.
So he actually does get a window here. He's going to port down an island. I think he's doing that so that he doesn't get Frost Titaned. Frost Titan can lock down the shrine indefinitely, potentially.
Although he can still cast Frost Titan off that Tundra, locking down the shrine.
He needs another blue sword. Oh, yeah, so he does have that, and he does have the Frost Titan as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, Grand Arbiter doing a lot of work here, and it is going to tap it down. Luis can't be happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the way Luis cast Price of Progress, I mean, I certainly forgot about Arbiter. It sounded like he thought he was just going to activate it right away. Instead, he does get the 6th land for Chandra. Now, can't Chandra the Frost Titan because of its ability. So I think he's probably just going to hit the dome right here. I don't know. The way Luis cast his card, it sounded like he thought he was going to activate the shrine, and not being able to do that and then getting hit with Frost Titan. Arbiter doing a ton of work this game.
Yeah, it really was. And I agree. I think that it did have that vibe. And then, you know, he did do everything he could to keep Shuhei off of Frost Titan mana, but Shuhei had a 2nd blue source in hand. And the Frost Titan.
Right,
you know,
right. Now, Luis is taking care of the Grand Arbiter. If Chandra gets attacked, he still can block, but Riftwing Cloudscape coming into play.
So is the shrine going to get bounced here? That's going to reset all those counters on it?
It's
Shuhei's
really
at
hard
4.
to say. I think he's bouncing Chandra because he has Mystic Snake in his hand.
So he knows that he can just counter it on the
Yeah.
comeback anyway. All right.
So, I mean, if Luis had just passed and just activated Shrine and then cast Price of Progress, he would have won the game.
Pass, activate, shrine. Yeah.
Right, if your opponent casts Titan, you just kill him. Now, maybe Shuhei wouldn't have cast Titan, but what's he going to do? Keep 4 up for Mystic Snake while Luis just has to keep... I guess it's 3 and 3, but, you know, the...
Yeah, but the shrine is going to get you eventually with that plan.
Yeah, right, exactly. You have to cast Frost Titan at some point. Yeah, a huge, huge Frost Titan for Nakamura. Again, he's tapping out very liberally.
For a Mold Drifter.
Being at such a low life total with a Mystic Snake, I don't understand the boldness.
He's very bold. He has an Essence Scatter and Venser Shaper Savant.
Like, do you not want to just represent your Mystic Snake? Maybe not. I mean, maybe you want to just kill Luis as quick as you can.
Maybe so. I mean, Luis needs to, like, a Char would do it here.
It's, you know, okay. Shuhei has memory lapse. That explains everything. He's able to cast that. I didn't realize he had that in his hand.
Okay, and he's got the Elf, which can enable him to the 2nd mana. Okay.
Yeah, why spend 4 when you can spend 2? Sure. All right, just commanding dominance from Shuhei. It looks like he's going to be able to take this.
Yeah,
this
there's
game
a Brine Elemental there. Now he does still have the Mystic Snakes for the next actual burn spell, so anything that would just kill him outright.
Yeah. All right. We're seeing a main phase Venser getting the Goblin Guide out of the way, and that's going to be the match.
Wow.
I was not expecting Luis to lose that one.
I wasn't either. I really felt like he had it in the bag. I wonder if he did too.
I really think it was just as simple as forgetting about Grand Arbiter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he casts the spell. So, I mean, at that point, you do have to tap that extra land.
Yes.
And that was just a huge opening for Shuhei.
Right, and he took full advantage, dumping his hand basically, and is able to seal it up. Now,
Luis is not happy. You can say, I mean, Luis is a pretty cordial guy, but he was very intense.
You can tell when he gets intense, and I don't think he's very pleased with that result. From one of the side tables here, Samuele Estratti on the back of a White Weenie strategy, Anthems, defeats Tzu-Ching in the 2nd game. They're now going to game 3 there.
White Weenie gets a lot of trash talking from cube enthusiasts. A lot of people don't like to just cast creatures and turn them sideways, and a lot of the time the deck does need disruption in the form of either disenchants or, more importantly, Armageddons, other things like Tanglewire. But I'm telling you, sometimes you just cast a creature on turn 1, another creature on turn 2, and something else on turn 3, and the game just ends. Yeah.
And I mean, and it looks like we're going to get game 3 here of Samuele Estratti versus Tzu-Ching Kuo. And you can see them there. They're getting shuffled up. A world champion versus a Pro Tour champion.
Some high quality Magic.
All right, the Magic Feather Case by Incipio lets your imagination flow. Keep your iPhone 4 or iPhone 4S protected from danger while showcasing Magic's awesome imagery, including the most popular planeswalkers and other amazing art. For more information, visit wizards.com/magic merchandise.
All right, now Kuo here with a aggressive red-green deck, leads with a Stomping Ground. Estratti retaliates with a Mother of Runes, really good against all these burn spells.
Wow,
but
Mother of
GP
Runes is going to do
coming down.
a ton of work here.
Oh, it's Silver Knight.
And a Silver Knight, so you can give his, this is pretty funny, he can have 2 protection from red creatures when he needs them. This can't be what you wanted to see.
Yeah, what do you do in this position? Like, yeah, you've got landfall.
Trigger. It resolves.
Estratti's got a Figure of Destiny in his hand. Mother of Runes protecting Figure of Destiny is just a huge blowout.
For when Estratti's able to put the pressure back on Kuo.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, he just starts activating that thing. Now, Vexing Devil comes down. You have to think Estratti's going to pay for it.
16.
And he does, in fact, take the damage.
I mean, sitting at 20 life, it's not as steep of a tax as it can be.
Right, you've got a commanding board presence, but I mean, you don't want to just give your opponent a 4-3.
Right. Do we know if
Kuo sitting here
Estratti's actually
thinking-
mono white?
He's blocking the plate of Geopede. I guess there's no reason not to attack with Geopede. Mother Runes is not attacking you, and you can't block Silver Knight, so might as well see if for some reason he doesn't block. Maybe he misclicks.
Well, so he actually, there was a reason there, right?
yeah?
Because Kuo has Magma Jet in his hand.
Okay.
And if Estratti gets greedy and double blocks and then says, give my
Sure.
Mother of Runes protection from red, he can get him.
That is the greediest play
Right,
in the history of the
look,
universe.
look, I'm
But,
not saying
yeah.
you would expect that to happen. I'm saying it's possible.
But no, that's true. I mean, why not get your value? I mean, that's
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Hey, Estratti going on the offensive now.
The Mirror Crusader at least doesn't have protection from red, but it is going to hit very, very hard. I think we're probably going to see it just get Magma Jetted here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's yeah. Well, because
I mean, the Mother
does
of
Kuo
Runes would
have 2
protect
burn
it.
spells?
Well, that's the thing, is that if he Magma Jets it, he's representing 2 burn spells, so Estratti would have to make kind of a tough decision about whether to protect it now and say, look, if I keep this Mirror Crusader, then I can win this game, or if he values the Mother of Runes higher and says, I'll take a 2-for-1 and you get my Mother of
Sure.
Runes. So,
And I feel like Mother of Runes is in many ways does its job if it just negates 2 burn spells by itself. You
like,
know?
it negates one and eats another one, like,
Right.
that seems fine.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, and
No.
Kuo does not have 2 burn spells, so he didn't want to risk it.
Right, Kuo now, I mean, just in a really bad position. I mean, he's going to take a ton of damage from that Crusader. He's got Boggart Ram Gang, but the Crusader blocks it because it's hybrid.
Yes. Yeah, and also can't be blocked by. I mean, right now, he's on a 3-turn clock. Kuo's at 18, and he's facing down at least 6 power every turn, that can't be really profitably blocked at this time.
Estratti trying to decide whether to block the Geopede. It is a 3-3 due to landfall.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get sloppy. I mean, Estratti's sitting at 16 life. He can certainly afford to take some damage here, but he just doesn't want to, you don't want to take damage over and over and over that you don't actually need to.
Yeah, of course. And at the same time, you did just get hit. Yeah, I mean, you got hit for 4 with Vexing Devil, so you got to pay some attention to your life total. Your Mother of Runes is not going to protect your face if
Right.
burn spells are coming at you.
Exactly. So if you were going to block and you were Estratti here, which creature would you block with?
I think Mirror Crusader blocking here seems really bad to me.
Okay, because if you do block with Mirror Crusader, you will eat the Geopede, right? Like, you'll trade with it. Assuming that you go block, activate Mother of Runes.
Oh yeah, sure. Use
you
first
do
strike
get
damage
it off
and
the
activate.
table
Yeah.
and force him to have a burn spell, and you'll keep one or the other.
That's the thing, is that you're really asking for him to just Magma Jet your guy in response to you giving it protection. And then, like, I don't know. I mean, I just don't want to trade my 3 mana, what amounts to
don't either.
4/4,
Yeah.
with protection from Kuo's other color.
Exactly.
for a Magma Jet. I mean, I think you just have to take this damage.
I think so too. I mean, I think it's worth considering, but I think the decision ultimately comes down to don't.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If you're Estratti, if you're going to block, why attack with the Silver Knight? Like, if you're planning on blocking the Geopede.
Wow, so he does block, and he gives it protection from red before first strike damage. So now Quo has the opportunity to take out one or the other.
Right.
So if you're Quo with Magma Jet, are you killing the Mirror Crusader or are you killing Mother of Runes? Mother of Runes is obviously a big long-term problem, but that Mirror Crusader is also just going to kill you eventually.
Well, yeah, and if Estratti is just going to liberally use his Mother of Runes in combat, you're like, okay, this is doing its job. Just get rid of the card that's killing you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I sound very flippant. I don't know that that's right, but why trade 2 damage for 3 damage, or why trade, keep your 2/2 back when your Mirror Crusader could be attacking for 4 the next turn as opposed to 2?
Right.
I'm not really understanding where this line of play is coming from at all. And if you're Quo, I think you have to snap Magma Jet the Mirror Crusader. I mean, what else is your Magma Jet going to do this game?
Right.
And, I think you want your Geopede to be sitting on the board. You don't probably have any more lands, but it makes him hold resources back. Yeah, and that's exactly what he does.
Now he's going to get to scry 2 here.
And that's the other thing. If you keep your Mother Runes on tap, you don't let him scry.
Right. So he's got a Wheel of Fortune and a Forest is revealed off of the scry here, and he's thinking.
Wheel of Fortune plus Moldervine Cloak is nice and adorable. You can discard it and then dredge it right back.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
That's precious.
What's the red card in Quo's hand?
That's a Tribal Flames, I think. Is that what that is?
I can't quite see it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know he has a Boggart Ram Gang and a Moldervine Cloak.
I see Forest, Moldervine Cloak.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was Tribal. Tribal Flames wouldn't make a lot of sense anyway. So it looks like he keeps the Wheel of Fortune and ditches the land.
Yeah.
Holding another land. So as Geopede is going to be able to attack as a 3/3 next turn. Estratti, 3 planes, Whip Quarter, Figure of Destiny. Now, I mean, Mother Runes is going to be able to protect Figure of Destiny, and that's super important, which may have been his plan all along. But if that's your plan, I just don't understand the attack with the Silver Knight. Now he's playing Whip Quarter face down.
Okay.
No doubt trying to bluff something like Exalted Angel.
Okay.
There's a lot of value to hidden information.
Now he didn't play the Figure of Destiny here?
Yeah, he didn't play Figure of Destiny, which is going to feel real awkward when it gets Wheel of Fortune out of his hand.
Yeah, I mean, he can't necessarily see that coming, but is he leaving up that white just to unmorph the Whip Quarter?
Yeah, maybe so. I don't
That's
know.
an interesting line.
I just would want to start getting Figure of Destiny on the table, leveling it, and killing my opponent with that plus Mother.
Yeah, I think that the thing that we're seeing here is that Estratti isn't approaching this from the perspective that he's racing Quo, but we kind of were thinking he was. I mean, he had essentially 6 power on the board that he could get through whenever he wanted, and Quo had sometimes 3 power on the board and 4 cards in hand. But I think that the assumption is just well, here, I'm just going to bash you for 6. You can hit me for 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right. I'm proud of you.
Right.
Now, we see a Lumberjack from Quo. We see Fire Blast. Basilisk Collar, which is very important in aggro mirror. And
I think he's going to run out the Collar and the Lumberjack here? Or?
That certainly seems like a plan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's not Fire Blast. That's Curd Ape with the new art.
Oh, the new art, Curd Ape.
Yeah.
Little monkey business here.
And again with the old school cards, Curd Ape and Lumberjack giving you reasons to play red aggro since, the Stone Age. Estratti does unmorph Whip Quarter.
All right. So Estratti's got a full grip of cards, including a Thalia that he just peeled off the top. Thanks, Sheldon, for filling us in there.
So we see a mountain from Estratti, so he is playing some red cards. He's got Still Moon Cavalier, a lot of knights in his deck. A bunch of lands. And
that Silver Knight's still able to just freely attack.
Yeah, that's certainly true. If it doesn't want to hold off the aggressors, I mean, you've got to be feeling pretty bad if you're Estratti about not having access to that Figure of Destiny anymore.
Yeah, that thing was a Figure of Destiny plus Mother of Runes is a way that you can say, I'm not going to do anything the rest of the game. You do something.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's an enviable position to be in.
Well, I mean, especially since Figure of Destiny, I mean, you just kill your opponent so quickly.
Right.
It's maximum level is nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
It looks like he is going to play
Stillmoon Cavalier?
Stillmoon Cavalier, yeah.
Sure.
And is he leaving up Whipcorder to tap something? I mean, you might want to tap the Orcish Lumberjack just because that card can do very bad things.
Yeah, that is true. Now, I did notice he's also got, I believe, an Elite Vanguard in his hand, and he decided not to cast that either.
Has he seen mass removal from Quo's side? Has he seen Bonfire or something like that that's making him want to play a little more conservatively?
Maybe a Volcanic Fallout.
Now, this Spike Shot Elder plus
my.
Basilisk Collar is devastating.
Wow.
An absolutely
Now,
ridiculous
unless he uses his
combination.
Lumberjack, he doesn't have enough mana to cast, equip, and activate. Right?
Sure.
It's 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, and then he'll have 2. But still.
Well, you're going to get the Mother of Runes off the table, and then you're going to start machine gunning all of your opponent's non-Silver Knight creatures.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've got to sit and think, like, if you just go on the Figure of Destiny plan, your opponent doesn't have time to assemble all of this because you're just killing him between that and Mirran Crusader.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a powerful combination of cards he's put together right here.
Yeah, I think you might have nailed it just recently when you said that maybe there's some big sweeper, you know, something like that Estratti's seen that he wants to play around, because not dumping your hand there didn't make a lot of sense unless that is the case.
Sure. Now, does Estratti have Land and Relic Warder in his hand? It seemed like that was one of the cards. That certainly goes a long way to dealing with this Basilisk Collar problem.
And Sheldon does confirm that he does have that.
Estratti tapping the defensive plated Geopede.
Yeah, with no fetch lineup, it's just 1/1 first strike in this case.
Like, do you not want to tap the Orcish Lumberjack so that you don't get Spike Shot Eldered? Like, because if you tap the Lumberjack and you make him use Spike Shot, you can use your Mother of Runes and then untap with it. Whereas now, like, he can use the Lumberjack on your turn, tap your Mother of Runes, and then kind of go off on his turn.
And then on his turn, he can just go bing, 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 like take out 3 things. Now, he did just draw Glorious Anthem, which will matter once the Basilisk Collar's gone.
Yeah, I mean, and he does have the Relic Warder, and I understand that, but like, you know, Quo is playing a red deck and did just cast Wheel of Fortune, so it's possible between the Elder and his deck for the Warder to be removed. That said, I mean, obviously getting rid of the Collar it gets you back in the game from here and really puts you in the driver's seat. Estratti doing a lot of thinking. Yeah, with this grip full of cards and not casting stuff, he's got to just be respecting a mass removal spell. There's really no other explanation.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig through the deck list, do some mystery solving,
So
figure this out.
Estratti does decide to cast the Glorious Anthem right now.
Okay.
And Quo says, yeah, sure.
All right, so Quo is playing Volcanic Fallout and Slagstorm and Arc Lightning. So there are definitely more than a few ways for him to wrath the board.
Okay, so we can assume that Estratti had seen those in previous games and was playing around them, which makes good sense.
For sure. And even around Spike Shot Elder itself, just making sure you can get an answer to that. The Anthem huge here with Elder on the table. And
once the
this is representing 6 points of damage. Can conceivably pump the Crusader, but I've got to believe that he wants to cast Warder instead of dealing an extra point of damage.
Oh, you mean the Stillmoon Cavalier?
Yeah, Stillmoon Cavalier. Sorry.
Right, no worries.
Some 3-mana knight.
Quo's on 18, so it's a nice round number when you're attacking for 6. And he can do it later, you know.
Oh yeah, of course.
And it looks like Quo is actually going to, if he blocks here, he forces Estratti to give the Stillmoon Cavalier first strike.
Right.
using up another mana, which is what he's doing.
And sitting there with 3 lands in his hand, he kind of has to think that his play is just be all in on the spike shot and survive.
Right. All right, so he's going to sacrifice a forest. He's going to add 3 red, you know, presumably. Right. And he's going to target the Still Moon Cavalier with his Spike Shot Elder. So that happens.
Yeah.
So he got him to use an extra mana, which can definitely be key. But right now we're going to see the Relic Border come down. It's going to take out the Basilisk.
Right, and from Estrati's side, you just have to leave your Mother Runes untapped there.
Right.
You can't. I mean, if he manages to kill your Warder, the game is over.
Right.
So you know he's got to just say, all right, well I'm going to have to bin a Cavalier. I traded that for a forest, whatever. He's only got 3 forests in play. I'll figure something out.
And Estratti passes back. Now he's in a pretty sweet spot. He's got a lot of power on the board.
Right. I mean, the Glorious Anthem is gigantic here. Going to have a huge counterattack from Estratti, and Quo just does not have anything going on, just barely any cards in his hand. His Elder is still potent even without the Basilisk Collar.
Yes.
But, you know, but it's going to require him to start throwing away all of his forests before he can really get anywhere.
So he's going to have to do. He's going to have to activate it twice to kill the Mother of Runes, right?
That is correct. He's gonna actually end up having to do it 3 times because he's gonna use Mother of Runes to give it pro red, and he's gonna have to respond to that with Orcish Lumberjack. So he's gonna time walk him to get rid of the Mother of Runes, and even then he's got to come up with. It's gonna take a couple of turns for him to then kill the Warder after that because the Warder's a 3/3, and then equip Basilisk Collar, and that entire time Estratti's just going to be attacking.
Exactly. I think that Quo has a Wild Nacatl in hand.
Oh yeah, is that what he drew this turn?
I think so. At least it can. I mean, it can't even block the Silver Knight.
Right. The first strike being kind of devastating. And that also he needs exactly 9 mana to do the trick with Spike Shot Elders. So it's he can't even afford to spare that 1 additional mana to cast a 2/2.
Can I block? Sure.
So he's going to attack.
And Estratti blocks with the 3/3. It's going to sort of make him use his Spike Shot. He doesn't really care about anything the Spike Shot does other than it's hitting Mother of Runes.
All right, so it looks like he gets in for 3 there.
Yeah, and he's just going to bin his Curd Ape. The GAP hitting for 3 because of landfall.
All right, so he's going to target it with the Spike Shot Elder to finish it off, and that happens.
Yeah, and Estratti's like, sure, that's fine. Now the Mother of Runes isn't going to die.
It's funny how Mother of Runes just sits there.
Yeah, right.
You know, like he hasn't activated it in like 4 or 5 turns, but it's completely warping this entire board state.
Right, this entire pace of this entire game has changed because of the presence of Mother of Runes, and it really hasn't activated that many times.
Yeah, just like once.
They're sort of just.
And the one time he did, we didn't really agree with it either. Like, it just might have been better to just never actually turn that.
Well, so much of Magic the Gathering is not what happens on the board, but what happens because of what can happen on the board.
Yeah, we usually call that threat of activation on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's an important concept to learn for Magic, and this is certainly one of them. Okay, a Silverblade Paladin.
Just more and more knights.
Yeah, more. Yeah, this is kind of mono knights, and he's deciding what he wants to pair it with.
I just want to see a War Falcon for maximum value.
I like it.
Looks like he's going to be pairing it with the Silver Knight.
Yeah, because that thing can just get in right now for 6, and it can't be blocked.
That's not too bad, given that Quo's at 16. I feel like you probably don't get, well, you probably do get in with the Relic. No, you don't. It's too risky. I mean, he's going to have to trade his Lumberjack, a Forest for it, but I mean, then he can just re-equip the Elders. So.
Oh, he just did.
Oh, he does? Oh, because you have Mother Runes untapped.
Right.
That's right. The thing we were just talking about for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I have a very small brain and a very short memory. We're looking right now as Quo tries to decide blocks. Quo just sitting there in the tank thinking, doesn't really have a lot to do, but has to play his Spike Shot Elder perfectly. The entire game's over. Every single point of damage matters. And conversely for Estratti, he's just trying to deal as much damage as he can. thing is, if he doesn't present a threat, he knows his mother
First
runes can
damage.
die, and he knows his
6
warder can
damage of
eventually
strike.
die. So
Yes.
if he doesn't put him on a
Normal
clock,
damage.
he's still going to fall
9 damage,
victim to the
7.
same thing
Right.
that's threatened him this entire game.
And that's really the key here, right? I mean, if that Basilisk Collar were to fall back into Quo's hands, it would just devastate Estratti. It's basically his entire deck.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that Relic Warder is absolutely key to what's happened here.
And Quo just takes it, falling down to 7 from. So he took 9 damage, so falling to 7 from 16.
So I think Estratti's trying to decide, you know, what do I want to commit to the board here? That I think ideally he'd like to commit enough so that he can kill Quo next turn while still having some type of backup plan.
Right.
Although I gotta say, Silver Knight, you know, with a Glorious Anthem is a pretty nice backup plan where
Right.
you have 13 life
3.
anyway.
Right, that kind of is your backup plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And plus, since the sweepers he's dealing with actually deal damage, you know, he can use the Mother of Runes to save whichever creature he wants.
His Mother Runes is most likely going to be tapped at the end of his turn because he's going to deal it one with Spike Shot and then use Lumberjack to deal it another point of damage.
Oh, okay, so he can take that off the table for, well, not take it off the table, but take it out of play for his turn.
Right. But that's the thing is that, like, if Quo casts Slagstorm right here, it's like not clear that it's good for him. You know,
No, it's
he
not
gets
clear
his like even if it killed everything but Silver Knight, it's like okay, so you don't have a board either.
Right, so that's why I think you see Quo holding on to that Wild Nacatl, is that if he does draw a Slagstorm here, you can follow up with that. He'll have the collar back. He can equip it and start getting in for 2.
That's true, and with Collar, the Wild Nacatl can actually compensate for the Silver Knight because it's just by attacking it gains him some life.
And he's in an interesting position here. So there's a mountain now down for his strike.
Right.
Like, well, now what's going on with that? You know, so now he's got to consider a whole nother range of cards.
2 turns, no.
Now they're having some kind of argument right now or some sort of dispute. I can't really tell what it is.
About how many cards
Will you
somebody
make
has.
this one? The 4
They
land.
keep pointing to the Wheel of Fortune. We'll get Sheldon to explain after he gets a good view. Okay, so they were actually talking about whether he had played the land this turn or not, and it turns out he had, so I guess that we don't have to worry about that. All right, so do 1 damage to the Mother.
Okay, sucks.
He says, okay.
Okay, so that's why the mountain's not on the battlefield because Estratti played a land already.
Section from red to itself.
All right. So Quo is about to draw another card, yet another land.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
just
can't
keeps
really get a
bricking
break.
here.
And
Now
with
he's
the
sitting
Mother
at
Runes,
7, and he's facing down just a ton of damage here.
That's true. Yeah, he can't really, you know, if he time walks himself to deal with the Mother of Runes, that's not going to do it. You know, he's got to figure out how to mount a defense right here, and there's not really a constructive way to do that.
Yeah, Thalia's got double strike. Silverblade Paladin has double strike. They're both 3 power.
Thalia's first strike, right? Or,
Well, they're
no,
paired.
they're paired.
Yeah,
oh,
so
okay. I
they're
thought he
both
paired
3
with the Silver
power.
Knight.
He's got a 3/3 Silver Knight and a 3/3 Leonin Relic Warder plus Mother of Runes. Like, he's in a very, very good spot here. And Quo, I mean, like at this point, does he run out the Wild Nacatl for the chump blocks? He probably realized it doesn't leave him a lot of ways to recover if he does survive the turn and manage to sweep the board. But
Now, are we sure that Thalia and the Crusader are paired? Because Quo was at 16 last turn and took 9, right, from Silver Knight and from Land and Relic Warder.
okay, so I assume that they were because of the way
They're
that they're
on
set
top
on the
of
table,
each other.
but they're not.
Yeah, I don't
actually.
think they are.
We just confirmed from Sheldon that those are not paired together. So don't know exactly which one is paired or if it's paired at all. If any cards are paired with Silverblade Paladin, but yeah. I wish you'd kind of just not have that sitting directly on top of it, but it happens.
Right. All right. So we're Spike Shot Elder killing the Mother of Runes. Quo setting up basically just chump blocking a lot this turn.
Like all 3 guys a lot.
Right. Yeah. I guess what he has to plan for is just top decking a removal spell, chumping, casting it, casting Wild Nacatl, hoping not to die, and getting back in the game with Basilisk Collar.
Yeah. I mean, he can do 2 damage to something, right? Like he can block with the GOP'd first strike it and then
Sure.
activate
You do,
his
yep.
guy. So, like, I think the only creature that actually affects is Thalia, though, right?
No, those are paired.
Right, and even that, like, because Thalia is first.
sorry.
Okay, and then
Okay, so we get a little clarification of our board state there. It's just easier for us at home to view, and I'm sure for the players as well. So it's actually paired with the Leon and
with
Relic.
Leon, okay, the warder, not the Silver Knight, is
Yep.
something, though.
Yes,
Extra damage. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
it does. And I mean, it represents the same thing. It's 3 power of double strike on both of those creatures.
Attack.
So you have to just get in there, make him show
Jamming
you
in,
something.
whole team. I believe that Estratti is sitting on all lands and an elite vanguard.
Right,
Yeah,
so
confirmed.
very awkward hands for both players. Just grips full of lands
And then a
one
one
mana
drop.
tooth.
And then two twos for one or
yeah,
2 ones
yeah,
for
exactly. Some variant of Savannah Lion. I mean, and there aren't really any good blocks for Quo here. There's
No.
nothing he's really excited to do right now.
But he's not dead on board, right?
No.
So
No.
that's the key. You know, I mean, obviously, ideally he's able to keep his Spike Shot Elder alive, but I don't think he can actually block and have it be alive.
But if the Silverblade Paladin was paired with Silver Knight, wouldn't he actually? No, I guess he wouldn't be dead on board because he just blocked the other 3 guys. But he loses all of his creatures and goes to 1.
Yes, and he's facing down a pro-red threat.
Right. So I don't know. I feel like he'd kind of want his Paladin paired with Silver Knight, but there are other reasons to want it the other way around too, for sure.
I mean, it certainly makes the Leonin Relic Warder a relevant attacker, where before he wouldn't have been able to throw it into combat.
Well, and that's probably what happened last turn, is that he didn't. Yeah, he had to pair it in order for Quo not to have profitable blocks.
Right. Now, Quo knows that one of Estratti's hands is a basic mountain. He doesn't know why.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't know if that could mean what that could mean. All right, so block.
Trying to look up and
That's
see
right.
what the mountain is
He would
for
take
in
6 here and
Estratti's
go to
deck.
1 if this was the situation. So he can keep his Spike Shot Elder alive if he wants to do this. Estratti's on 13. Quo's sitting on a grip of lands and a Wild Nikado.
All right,
Pick
and the
6.
red in
One.
Estratti's deck is for Brimstone Volley and a Johnny Vengeance.
Johnny Vengeance and a Brimstone Volley. Okay, that's pretty
So
impressive.
he does have a little bit of direct damage, which he's got to be excited about, given that
All
Quo
right.
is at 1.
What just happened here? So now Estratti runs out the Elite Vanguard.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't know why you, like, again, we know that Quo gets at least 1 draw step here.
Yeah, it just, I don't understand, right? like you've got to be scared of the removal spell, so why are you committing your last guy?
He held it in hand for a long time, but now he just dumps it on the table where he's got lethal, 3 times over what he needs from a chump block here. So it's the only thing he has to fear is a sweeper.
Right.
And even then, he still has the Silver Knight. I don't know
like
why
maybe,
you run it out
maybe
there.
deranged hermit is what it gets around, but I don't know. I mean, do you have does he have reason to believe that Quo has a hermit?
All right, and Quo decides, he did some math. He was going to try to bluff it, but I think that Estratti had realized that the tides had turned, and he was really willing to just jam all of his guys there. And Quo extends the hand of defeat. So Estratti takes
the hand
down
of defeat.
Tzu-Ching Quo 2-1 there in what really was actually a pretty tight game. I mean, it was played at a little bit slower of a pace for 2 aggressive decks going together, but that's usually how those decks should be played. Just basically because if you make one mistake, it punishes you so hard. It's not like you could just preordain your way into more answers. Like,
no, right, precisely.
Yeah.
You have to think about every single angle that you're confronting. And I mean, as commanding of a position as Estratti had the entire time, I mean, Quo, if there was no land and Relic Warder on that Basilisk Collar, I mean, Quo would have just machine gunned all of his creatures and gained a lot of life in the process.
Yeah, and I think that, he realized pretty quickly that was his plan A.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, welcome back to the booth. I am Marshall Sutcliffe. That is Zach Hill. And, man, I got to say, covering this cube draft stuff is awesome. Like,
Man.
how different was the match that we just saw Quo versus Estratti versus the stuff that we've seen otherwise. I mean, these guys are playing white weenie versus like red-green aggro.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and we've been seeing like reanimation and tinkers and all this crazy stuff. So I really like that we get a bunch of different looks at a different type of decks here.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's also cool just to see. I mean, you really get some quality back and forth magic in these games. I mean, you saw a tinkered up Sundering Titan almost, be counteracted by a Jace the Mind Sculptor, but for a Vines of Vastwood.
Right.
You saw an incredibly fast start from Luis be halted by a Grand Arbiter Augustin IV right into a Frost Titan, holding off a Shrine with 6 counters on it. I mean, the momentum swings are unprecedented. I mean, there's
they
really
really
nothing
are.
like it.
You just don't see things like this, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact of just the very high power level. You know, we've been talking about it all day today. The cube as a format enables some things that we're just not used to seeing, and they do it pretty consistently. I mean, just haymakers coming down over and over. But I really like that we went micro on that last one. Like Mother of Runes was probably the best card, or the most important card of that whole game.
Absolutely. I mean, Mother of Runes redefined everything. And, it's sort of, for a 1-mana 1/1, it really ground the game to a halt, right? It's like, you can't cast Magma Jet, but you can't use it in combat because your opponent might then cast some other kind of burn spell. You know, there's really a pretty intricate dance being done there.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to see a lot more of that, and that much emphasis on a card that costs 1 white mana. I think that's just fantastic. All right, we are ready to go to the studio, however, so we're going to send it over there, and after that, we'll be back with more matches.